In 2014, Elizabeth Holmes was on the cover of Forbes magazine, worth an estimated $9 billion. The youngest female self-made billionaire in history. She was called the next Steve Jobs. She was going to revolutionize medicine. She was going to save millions of lives. Every word of it was a lie. This is the story of the greatest fraud in Silicon Valley history, and the woman who almost got away with it. Elizabeth Holmes grew up in Washington, D.C. Smart, driven, and obsessed with one thing: legacy. She wanted to be remembered. At 19, she enrolled at Stanford to study chemical engineering, but she didn't stay long. In her sophomore year, she dropped out and used her tuition money to start a company. She called it Theranos. The idea was simple, and if it had worked, it would have changed medicine forever. A single drop of blood from a fingertip. No needles, no labs, no waiting days for results. Just one drop, and within minutes, you'd know if you had cancer, diabetes, heart disease, or hundreds of other conditions. Holmes believed she could build the technology to make it happen. The problem was, she couldn't. But she told everyone she could, and people believed her. She had a gift, a rare, almost hypnotic ability to make people trust her completely. She wore black turtlenecks like Steve Jobs. She dropped her voice to an unnaturally deep baritone. She held eye contact until it became uncomfortable. She was performing the role of visionary, and Silicon Valley fell for it completely. By 2010, Theranos had raised hundreds of millions of dollars from some of the most powerful investors in the world: Rupert Murdoch, the Walton family, Henry Kissinger. None of them were scientists. None of them asked hard questions. They saw a young, brilliant Stanford dropout with a revolutionary idea, and they wrote the checks. Inside Theranos, it was a different story. Scientists who questioned the technology were silenced. Employees signed brutal non-disclosure agreements that kept them from speaking to anyone, including their own families, about what was happening inside the company. What was happening inside the company was this: the technology didn't work. The machines Theranos built, called Edison, could only accurately run a handful of tests. For everything else, they were secretly using standard commercial blood analyzers made by other companies. They were running tests on machines they didn't build, getting results they couldn't trust, and telling patients those results were accurate. Real patients, real diagnoses, real medical decisions being made on false information. People were told they might have cancer when they didn't. People were told they were healthy when they weren't. And Holmes knew. She kept raising money, kept expanding, kept appearing on magazine covers and giving TED Talks about changing the world. By 2013, Theranos had a partnership with Walgreens. Their blood tests available in stores across America. The fraud had gone public. In 2015, a Wall Street Journal reporter named John Carreyrou got a tip. Something was wrong at Theranos. Carreyrou spent months investigating, talking to former employees, scientists, and medical experts. Theranos sent lawyers after every source. Holmes called the newspaper's editors personally to kill the story. It didn't work. In October 2015, the Wall Street Journal published its investigation. The machines didn't work. The tests weren't accurate. The whole thing was a fraud. The story detonated like a bomb. Walgreens suspended the partnership. Investors froze. The board turned on Holmes. Federal regulators moved in. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services investigated the labs and found they posed immediate jeopardy to patient safety. In 2018, the Department of Justice indicted Elizabeth Holmes on multiple counts of fraud. The $9 billion was gone. The company was gone. The myth was gone. At trial, Holmes took the stand in her own defense. She claimed she genuinely believed that the technology worked. She claimed she was a victim herself, manipulated by her former partner and boyfriend, Ramesh Balwani. The jury didn't buy it. In January 2022, Elizabeth Holmes was found guilty on 4 counts of fraud. She was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. She reported to prison in May 2023. The Holmes story raises an uncomfortable question. How did this happen? How did one person fool George Shultz, Henry Kissinger, Rupert Murdoch, the Department of Defense, and some of the smartest investors in the world? The answer is simpler than you'd think. People wanted to believe. They wanted a young visionary who was going to change medicine. They wanted the story to be true. And Elizabeth Holmes understood that better than anyone. She didn't just sell a product, she sold a dream. And when the dream finally collapsed, it took billions of dollars and thousands of patients' trust down with it. That is the cost of unchecked ambition. That is the price of a lie that gets too big to stop. And that is a capitalist tale. Elizabeth Holmes is serving her sentence at a federal prison in Texas. Theranos is gone. The $9 billion is gone. The patients she misled are still living with the consequences. But the question her story leaves behind is one Silicon Valley still hasn't answered. How many other visionaries are out there right now, raising billions on technology that doesn't work, protected by the same culture of belief that shielded Holmes for a decade? If you want to find out, subscribe to Capitalist Tales. New stories every week. See you next time.